A Separate Piece by John Knowles. In the beginning of the book, Gene Forster decides to return to his past as an older man at the all-boys school, Devon Academy. He looks around at the landscape of his childhood. He begins to illustrate his life 15 years earlier.
Sid, you're actually so lucky you're getting
He
here
starts
first.
by describing the Devon All-Boys Academy, located in New England, and transports us back in time to World War II. We are introduced to a younger version of our protagonist, in his room alone, studying. Soon after we meet Gene, he meets a boy new to the school who is to be his roommate. His name is Phineas. Finney is great at sports and has broken many of the school records in the short time that he has been there. He has love and adoration for many of the boys at the Devon School because of his great sporting ability. The boys' typical day involves competitively playing games which Finney creates. This includes jumping off of the campus tree into the river. One day, Finney and Gene decide to head to the beach against Gene's best interest since he has an exam the next day. This is also a violation of the school rules, but Gene and Finney go anyway. This daring act causes Gene to fail an exam for the first time ever. It also makes Gene suspicious of Finney's motives, making him think that Finney is purposefully trying to sabotage Gene's academic career. We travel forward 4 months in time with the scene set at the boys playing at the tree once again. Gene and Finney decide to jump off the tree at the same time. But the limb jostles and Finney falls to the ground, missing the water completely, causing him to break his leg. Okay.
Meanwhile, back in the room, Jean tries on Finney's pink shirt and realizes that if he looks like Finney, he feels more confident. Jean is starting to become an individual. Overjoyed to see. Finney soon returns back to the Devon school, and Jean is overjoyed to see him. Jean soon realizes how upset Finney is that he can't compete in athletics anymore, but most importantly, that he can't compete in the 1944 Olympics. Suddenly, Finney has an idea. He will train Jean to become an excellent athlete, just like himself. And compete and win in the 1944 Olympics in replace of himself.
Finney overhears boys talking about the war and how they plan to enlist. This causes him to go on a rant about how the war is not real. It's something fictitious created by the government and media, which is really covering up his true feelings of sadness since he cannot participate in the war because of his leg.
Meanwhile, 3 months later, Jean visits an old friend named Leaper Lepillier. Leaper enlisted in the war, but then returned because he became crazy. Jean is excited to catch up with Leaper. Jean finds out that Leaper received a Section 8 discharge. This means that Leaper was kicked out of the army for being insane. Leaper confronts Jean about Finney breaking his leg. Leaper thinks Jean is the one responsible for Finney's incident. Jean and Leaper get into a fight. One day, back at the Devon school, Jean Gene is back in his dorm room, when suddenly, one night, Gene and Finney get kidnapped.
At the assembly, the Devon school boys attempt to figure out what happened the day Finney fell from the tree, and the boys accuse Gene of pushing Finney. Finney feels overwhelmed and doesn't know whether to believe the Devon boys or Gene. Finney quickly leaves, and Gene, feeling horrible and apologetic, follows Finney to talk to him. While hurriedly escaping the scene, Finney trips down the stairs outside the building where the assembly was taking place and re-breaks his leg.
After he falls down the stairs, Finney spends the night in the infirmary with a broken leg. Gene watches through the window until everyone is gone, and then he sneaks in to visit his friend. Gene is concerned about Finney, but Finney doesn't want to see him and tells him to go away. Gene leaves that night and comes back the next morning. But the doctor says that Finney doesn't want to see him and that he should come back another time. Finally, Gene gets to see Finney and they get the chance to talk.
At their meeting, Finney confesses to Jean that he knows Jean didn't mean to jounce the limb and cause Finney to break his leg. The thought of Jean pushing Finney off the tree seems incomprehensible to Finney. The two friends are reunited and seemingly happy. Before Jean leaves, he wanted to tell Finney the truth, that he actually meant to jounce the limb and cause Finney to fall, but he is asked to leave by the infirmary staff. When Jean visits the next day, he is confused when he finds Finney's hospital bed empty. The doctor tells Jean that Finney died the previous night. The doctor was trying to set Finney's shattered leg when a piece of Finney's bone marrow traveled through his bloodstream and caused his heart to stop pumping. Jean attends Finney's funeral and feels that the part of him that Finney so heavily influenced had died. The novel ends with present-day Jean pondering his past at the Devon school while overlooking the New England landscape. The main themes in a separate piece were identity and trying to find yourself in the midst of influences such as best friends. Another theme was how friendships shape people and who they become. Jealousy causing irrational decisions that eventually lead to regret was also a theme, in addition to realizing that overcoming fear and becoming more accepting are signs of personal growth.
Thank you for listening.
So if you